You have several players who have never played against VCU. When you advise them as to what to expect against the Rams, is there a sort of a bullet point message you have up top there?
Well, I think it's two things. I think it's playing against VCU, their pressure defense, their style, their athleticism, and then I think it's playing in the Richmond VCU game. You know, a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, you know, just a great feel in the arena, excitement. So I think it's both of those things. The one about being part of the rivalry is kind of just to make sure they, you know, that they're not surprised by the energy that's in the building and embrace it and, you know, be in that moment. The one about playing against their pressure and athleticism is something that, you know, what practice is for, and making sure they understand just the level of speed that they have, the level of aggression that they're capable of, and, you know, and then more detailed things from that.
Before this season, the NCAA Men's Rules Committee re-emphasized the freedom of movement.
Did they?
They did. I wonder if you're satisfied, and if there's an area or two in a typical game that you would like to see that more emphasized by the officials.
Yeah. Well, I think officiating a basketball game is really, really difficult. You know, and then the bigger, stronger, faster the athletes are, it makes it even more difficult. You know, sometimes there's contact on a play, and really both guys have caused that contact, you know, driving to the basket. So it's really a hard game to officiate. I feel like the freedom of movement part, which was, I know it was an emphasis this year, but I think it was really, really a major change, maybe 6-7 years ago that we talked about. And I think that's been very positive for the game. You know, I don't know if the semicircle on the floor is the best idea, but I think the idea that fewer collisions around the basket, which again kind of feeds into freedom of movement. I think that's what makes the game enjoyable, pretty, you know, and brings fans to the game. So I think the less contact you can have, the better. Now the defenses are so good and the coaching's so good, and you know that you're still going to be that. You know, you can still crowd the court. You can still make it difficult for a player, all legally. So I don't think it's easy, but I do think that the emphasis should continue to be that there's freedom of movement, whether you have the ball or don't have the ball. And hopefully that each time there is an emphasis or there's a rule change, it goes in that direction. You know, we cut an awful lot, and so it's important for us to be able to move freely, because even if we aren't able to throw the ball to the guy cutting, you know, there's a certain movement, there's a certain next part of the play that the movement creates. And if that guy can't move freely, then the next part of the play is somewhat stagnated, and so on and so forth. So, you know, that's a more general way of answering the question. I just hope that we continue moving in the direction of freedom of movement, so that the players' skills and abilities are the highlight of the game.
In your time in this round, have you noticed if VC's defense is different when they play at home as opposed to when they play?
Great question. Not as much as I'd like it to be. You know, everybody seems to play a little bit better at home, or maybe with a little bit more energy and great crowd and whatnot, but not as much as I'd like it to be. I think they apply pressure, and I think if they play back-to-back days, if they play on neutral floor, you know, this is really who they are, and their ability to apply pressure is very important to them. I'm sure, you know, I'm just sure it's something that is every day. You know, we get credit for being a good passing team, and passing's emphasized from the very first workout of a guy's freshman year. And so that's what makes the passing likely show up, is the everyday emphasis. And I think for them, pressure defense is a big part of that. And so I think they can apply their pressure and play aggressively anywhere.
How do you neutralize a guy like Ace, who doesn't have to score a lot, to have his fingerprints on the game?
Well, one, he steals the ball an awful lot. You know, similar to Jacob Gilliard, his steals often turn into points. They're clean. That's one. You have to not take too many chances when he's in the area that you're trying to score. Two, I think you need to guard him with early with as many guys as you can. So like you don't want to, as he's going, you don't want to flood to him. Then he finds guys, but early you want him to feel like there are 3 white jerseys around him. So it's not. He's a great player, very good athlete, great passer. So it's hard to totally take somebody like that out of the game, especially who's such a good dribbler. But hopefully we can limit his contribution passing the ball to a certain degree by just trying to take away the space earlier.
What does it say about the series when you have both of these games in the Friday night showcase from the A10 on ESPN?
Yeah, I think that's great, and I would hope that that's the case every year moving forward, because to me it's the best rivalry in our conference, and one of the best rivalries in the country, and the energy, the different styles of play, the respect for one another, the proximity, all those things lead into great, exciting games. Just off the top of my head, there are 6 or 7 games that are incredibly memorable. Unfortunately, not always good, but just incredibly memorable. And that happens in rivalry games more than it does in regular games.
Hey, Chris, as this season started, the narrative was new guys mixing with the holdovers, with an emphasis on how the new guys would pick up your system. Where are you with that as you go into this latter half of the season?
Yeah, I think that part of it we're doing well. I don't feel like we've had too much of a problem in terms of, we wouldn't phrase it like picking up our system, but we haven't had issues with that necessarily. I think we've moved along pretty well, and we have some things that could help us be more consistent. Neil Quinn being aggressive is one of our primary focuses, and I think if he's more aggressive, the things that come off of that are really, really valuable. The court, everybody has a little bit more room on the court, more cuts are open, things like that. So that's one thing. And then, I think that will help us shoot the ball better as well. So, and then as Bob and I have been talking a lot, I really think our defense has been very good, and we're capable of a great defensive team, which just means stringing together a few more minutes each game of great defense.
About half your rotation has never faced VCU. You have many times. Do you have any sort of advice if they ask you what VCU brings that perhaps is different than everybody else in the A10?
Yeah, well, just talking about it yesterday and stuff, a big part of VCU is their defense. Their full court pressure and just kind of like that pressure that they bring. So like just all day yesterday in practice, that's kind of was a point of emphasis for us, and that'll be going today as well.
They are known for their aggressive style, at least on the guards, full court. Does that apply to inside as well?
I think it's more so on the guards bringing the ball up. I think that's going to be something new and difficult. And even Coach Mooney was saying, once you get that ball in that low post, it's like almost a break from that pressure. You can be calm in there, kind of take your time with your dribbles. So that's something we're going to look for during the game, kind of taking our time in there and avoiding that guard pressure.
When this season started, the idea was development. That was sort of the narrative with these new guys, and get better as the season goes on, get cohesion. Where are you with that, and what's the next step or two to improve that?
Yeah, like we said, I've always known the kind of Richmond offense and all that it's kind of difficult to learn, especially for freshmen and new guys. It's something that takes time to adjust to. But at this point, I think 20 games in or something, everyone's kind of a lot more used to it now, and it's just got to keep improving.
Is there a specific emphasis on that front in terms of we need to pass more than dribble, we need to get the ball inside more, we need to shoot more threes? Yeah,
I think our defense has been good for the most part, so offense has kind of been a point of emphasis for us. But nothing specific like getting in the post, more just kind of playing, running through the offense, and just not trying to do too much, just letting things come to us.
Thank you.
You faced VCU several times.
A few.
Have you noticed a difference in how they play defense when you play them at the Cedar Center as opposed to when you play them here?
I think they're always just a scrappy team. I think the VCU crowd at the Siegel Center really helps them at times, and I think they're usually a team that can really be influenced by something like that. They get really high and really low depending on how things are going for them. So at the Siegel Center, when things are going well, the crowd's behind them and things like that, they can get really, into it. So yeah, I think that is a factor. Yeah.
How do you try to neutralize baseball when he does not score? When he is trying to harass the opposing point guard and do other things that don't show up on the score.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good player. Been a really good player for them for a few years now. And I mean, they run a lot of ball screens, stuff like that. So that's a lot on me and Neil, kind of containing him. Even if he's not scoring, just making sure that he's not able to make any easy passes, distribute the ball really easily, and get everyone open looks. So yeah, we're gonna have to be locked in on him.
Half of you did experience 3 games against them last year. Do you at all, or how much do you use the highs and lows of motivation from last year? The 2 lows, obviously, but then the really big high in the A-10 tournament.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that A-10 one was a great one for us. But also, like you said, those lows, losing at home to VCU, I mean, that sucked, never fun. So we do have to remember that feeling and make sure it doesn't happen again.
What does it say about the rivalry as a whole and ESPN and their platform, besides that moving your games against VCU for doing this rivalry showcase?
Yeah, I mean, it's big. I think it is one of the best college basketball rivalries out there, especially for what's considered kind of mid-major programs. VCU is always a really good team. We're a good program as well, and yeah, I'm excited.